All right, guys, we are live and we're talking movies. We're talking Star Wars. We're talking how Hollywood reacted to Star Wars. Joey and I both have our Star Wars story. Joey, do you want to go with yours? Because I think mine is a little bit better. I've heard your story before, but I want to
Mm.
hear the first time you heard of Star Wars. You you became like I guess again like all of us kids became a Star Wars fan. You want to tell your Star Wars story, the first time you saw it and the whatnot? Go ahead.
I actually have, I guess I have two Star Wars stories. The first one, I remember going, and for some reason I was upset. So I was having a bad day. But I do remember the line, the big crowd, and where I saw it. It's no longer a theater, but uh, and was there something else about right around that time is maybe the only other time in my life that I actually saw something in the sky that I thought might have been a UFO or something weird. I didn't know what it was. It didn't look like a plane to me. And my young mind saw it that in 1978, maybe not 1977, but 78. And I still remember that to this day for some reason. It was probably just a plane. I was too young to really know much more than that. But anyways, so something weird happened. The only other thing with Star Wars is that I don't know if you know this, but I actually worked on Star Wars, but not the original release. I was actually working at 20th Century Fox at the time, and I worked in their uh, international theatrical release department, which is like a long name for we counted numbers basically, but it was for the re-release of Star Wars in 1997, and so there was I at that point Star Wars hadn't even really been seen in China and a few other major countries, uh, and so it was a big deal. It was Star Wars was released uh, in a wider scope on VHS, but in DVD. But it was also the first time I remember just hundreds of millions of dollars. I can't remember the take on that. I should probably look it up, but I will during this show. But I was
Yeah,
actually working in that department, and I have a bunch of really cool memorabilia from that re-release. So,
yeah.
anyways, go ahead.
Okay. So I first actually heard of Star Wars when I was a kid. We had just gotten out of the movie March or Die, and it was a French Foreign Legion film. That the battle scene, both my brother and I, when we saw it, we really liked it, but my father was not liking the film that much, and we were out in the backyard. A couple of days after the film, and we talked about, we really like war scenes. He said, you know what, they're coming out with a war in space film, and I don't know if he said the word Star Wars, but that got the buzz thinking and the thought, and no trailer whatsoever. I just knew that this was a movie about a war in space. And we saw the 10 a.m. show at the Grauman's Chinese Theater the opening night, and it wasn't that packed, and we were completely blown away. When we got out of the theater, the line was around the block. I also know a person who read for Luke Skywalker, and he kind of said that he thought Mark Hamill was not as experienced of an actor as because Robbie Benson also, I believe, read for the part as well. but he wasn't as experienced of an actor as he was. But he then also got, I mean, he thought the script, and other people thought the script was really bad. Thought it was corny, cornball, and he was also reading for the part of the outlaw Josie Wales, and he got that part. And then when Mark Hamill got his part, he kind of said to him, "Good luck with this piece of blank. I just got the outlaw Josie Wales," and the film took off. And it just goes to show you, sometimes when a film on the page, you can't necessarily visualize it, and it becomes something else. Now, when Star Wars came out, Hollywood had a reaction to it. Just like when The Godfather came out or Dirty Harry came out, they reacted with making kind of knockoffs to see if they could get some of that money.
Now, are you aware, like, there was actual blowback with science fiction? So, the fact that it really, science fiction never really won any Academy Awards, I think, for like the longest time, was really like maybe some sort of factor there. But did you know about like the blowback, the pushback against science fiction movies and actually sci-fi as a genre? Even with science fiction books, there was actual blowback initially. Like, people didn't want it.
Well, I think it was a response to the 1950s, and and films in the late 1960s became more realistic. But I mean, with Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, but that didn't usher in, and it made a lot of money, but that didn't necessarily, from my understanding, usher in or have the same effect that Star Wars did. And I mean,
I agree. I think Star Wars revolutionized sci-fi in a way. Even movies like 2001, which is often ranked up amongst one of the best movies of all time. You know what I mean? So that is an interesting thing that science fiction really hadn't caught on, I think, until Star Wars. That was really my point. I don't think there was blowback in 78 or 77. I think there was more of a pushback, and 2001: A Space Odyssey may have fallen, sort of prey to that. It really, it's had a long life on video and all that. So I think it's actually really cultivated a massive following through the different medias. But I don't even know if when it was in the movie theaters, if it was such a huge, like if it was the reaction. Not, and I could be totally wrong on this. Maybe but I'm curious. Because I know there was pandemonium, like Star Wars mania was real. It was like there were lines around the buildings for weeks after that movie was released.
I forgot to mention one film in the repertoire, and we might just show that just later. But Hollywood responded to this, and it was primarily the low budget films that really got things off the ball and rolling first. And they were definitely not as good, and they were a lot more cheesy. Well, I take that back. There were some that were really bad. But the first film that I remember that was a response was a film called Star Crash, which, by the way, Joey, did you ever see this piece of caca? You're on mute.
Oh, I have seen that caca.
And what was your? Let's play the trailer, and then we'll talk about what we thought of it.
Prepare yourself to enter a strange new world of amazing sights and sounds.
It is garbage.
Star Crash. From deep space, from the farthest reaches of the haunted universe, comes the supreme galactic spectacle. Star Crash. Rated PG.
Now, what the hell were people thinking, Joey?
Well, it was all new, and just I have a feeling the reaction to that, and just even to Star Wars, I have a feeling it was very similar to our recent reactions to AI. I really do.
Now, by the way, I'm looking at the screen right here, and they're showing that Ron Howard is dead. That's not true at all. Some of these places are doing more sci-fi than. And the next one we have is Battle Beyond the Stars. And I forgot to talk about also Flash Gordon, 1970. So the second low-budget one, which was a little bit better. Did you see this movie, Joey?
I actually have not seen it. Do you have any background on this? Like, what's the? I mean, we're gonna watch the trailer.
But Seven Samurai, and this one really does kind of borrow the Star Wars theme, just because it has John Boy, Richard Thomas.
Yeah.
And so it plays kind of on the Star Wars theme to a degree. They were a little bit more intelligent with it. It's still hokey, but it's got some hot chicks in it too.
Ruthless invaders, a defenseless planet. Battle beyond the stars. A lone youth escapes on a last-ditch mission that begins at the edge of the universe.
Oh no, John Boy.
The story of a boy who finds more than he expected. And all he can handle.
Does your species have kissing?
Oh, yes.
Get it, John Boy.
Yeah, true.
That's a hot dog. It comes from Earth. Do you like it?
There's no dog in this. Soybean meal, niacin, dextrose, and sodium nitrate flavoring. That's what we call meat back home.
Battle beyond the stars. Starring Richard Thomas, George Papard,
George Papard of the A-Team fame.
Yeah.
Robert Vaughn, John Saxon, a battle beyond time, beyond space.
Was that about to be some alien rape?
I don't know about that, and we can't say that.
Begins a desperate gamble.
They'll be able to board us.
It won't make any difference.
Get that hands open! No!
You think I owe me $1?
Battle beyond the stars.
Wow, I pity the fool who saw that.
Well, it actually, you know what? They spent less money. Now, the next one is Black Hole. Now, I did send some other ones because I wanted to do Moonraker and Flash Gordon. This is the worst, by the way, in my opinion, of the franchises.
The Black Hole was terrible. It was it was this it was a direct Star Wars knockoff, right? I mean, straight away. Almost
And it was done by
entirely.
Walt Disney, but it was just, and they spent a lot of money on it, but it was really horrible.
Really? How well? Like, do you know what the budget was on it?
I think 20 million.
Wow, in 1977, 78.
99.
Oh, wow. They should have just made a movie about disco. Let's see.
There is an inexorable force in the cosmos where
Yeah,
time
that was a little futuristic, though. This kind of almost like 80s style right here.
Oh yeah, no, it was
is
well,
an inexorable force in the cosmos
I'm sorry, what?
it was well done for its time.
For its time, yeah. All right, let's see a little bit more.
where time and space converge, where the here and now may be forever. An unavoidable whole, moving through space, swallowing everything in its path. Now, man is about to enter the black hole.
Yeah, that's like a 3D model. So yeah, it was at the time it was at the cusp of technology. That was the technological wave.
And the thing is, it didn't know what it wanted to be, and it was kind of put together rather hastily, in my opinion.
A journey that begins where everything ends.
Yeah, it was kind of a knockoff on the 1950, the 1950s Forbidden Planet, and it was only about an hour and a half, hour and 35 minutes, but it was really kind of weak, I thought. And the next one, Star Trek. They were going to do a Star Trek in 1975, but as you had said, there had been some blowback.
Well, wait, just real quick before we moved on. So 1979,
Yeah,
wasn't the best year for movies.
no,
There were not very many like absolute, I think was Scarface. That I don't know. There.
Okay, well, no. Kramer versus Kramer came out. Actually, Nighthawks came out.
It was like another American Graffiti. There was a lot of it looked like parts, like series parts. But yeah, there was also whatchamacallit, Blackjack.
Well, Moonraker. I put a thing in there for the movie Moonraker. Also came out. Do you remember when that came out, Joey? Remember watching that or no?
I do. Now, do you remember Moonraker at the end of that movie? Do you remember what happens with Jaws?
Jaws falls in love.
With who?
Some cuckoo bird. I mean, some chick who helps him.
Now, did she have a particular thing that they had in common?
She had braces.
You'd think that was the case. Now you'd actually be wrong. You do know that, right?
Really?
That never happened.
It just goes to show you how the mind works.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I put two trailers there. One was for Flash Gordon. The other one was for
Star Trek next.
You want to just do Star Trek and then you want to do the Flash as well, or you want to do? Let's do Star Trek first.
Let's do Flash Gordon. I forgot to post that one. Flash Gordon trailer.
Yeah.
1980.
And I thought that was actually one of the better ones.
I enjoyed Flash Gordon. It was one of those movies that I just loved it.
When Barbara switched to TurboTax?
Part of it, I get TurboTax got a free ad there. But yeah, that was the first movie where I thought the music and everything was just incredible. Queen did the soundtrack, and anyways, here we watch this trailer here.
Clytus, I'm bored. What plaything can you offer me today?
An obscure body in the SK system, Your Majesty. The inhabitants refer to it as the planet Earth.
I like to play with things a while before annihilation. Pathetic earthlings! Who can save you now?
Strange object imaged in the Imperial vortex.
Remove the Earth Woman. Prepare her for our pleasure.
Killing
I mean, that was one of the, but it didn't make that big of a profit. I think it made somewhat of a. And can we go to Moonraker now, Joey? We'll go to Moonraker.
Oh, I don't have the link to that. Did you send that?
You can just type it in there. Moonraker's 1979 now.
It's all right. Actually, that was the wrong trailer. Let's do this one. Moonraker official trailer.
Excuse me, would you mind taking a picture of us?
Oh, no problem.
Thanks.
Ooh, yes, problem. You need Verizon. Get the new iPhone 15 Pro with.
Shut up. I gotta get an ad blocker. But what's your memory of Moonraker? I loved it. I was a big fan of all the
James Bond films.
All the James Bond films. This is like from my youth. I guess there's like a youthful connection to this.
The first one I saw was The Man with the Golden Gun, and then, but I was always a fan of like the Sean Connery than I was.
I could never get into Sean Connery as 007. I don't know why, but let's play this.
From the most exotic locations on Earth.
Wow.
Moonraker.
And you could really see the quality change.
Oh, yeah.
Film from just a few years, from 77 to 79. I mean, it's just, and I guess it depends on budget and a lot of things, but man, the quality
will
is
transport you to another world.
Trifle overpowering, Passage.
Holly was a warm girl with the right connections.
This possibly be the moment for us to pool our resources.
We would be better off working together.
More excitement, more thrills, more spills. And guess who's dropped in for a bite? Jaws is back.
Wow. Albert Broccoli? Wow. This is a long trailer, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Wow.
Shorter one. Yeah, but you know, I mean,
that gave me some serious deja vu, though, just watching that.
But I've always been a Bond fan. I mean, although I was a bigger fan of Sean Connery than I was at the time. I've grown to really like Roger Moore, though.
Roger Moore's incredible. He fell out of favor, though, for quite a while.
Yeah.
Next up, we have.
You don't want to play. You don't want to play. He's not even in space yet. Continue playing.
You want me to finish this one? Oh, my bad. Okay, yeah. Ian Fleming's Moonraker.
From Earth to the most spectacular adventure in space, Moonraker. It's out of this world.
What exactly are you up to here, Drax? Moonraker 1, liftoff. Moonraker 2, liftoff. Moonraker 3, liftoff. Moonraker 4, liftoff. We have liftoff.
What's that?
An entire city in space.
James Bond and the treacherous Dr. Goodhead. Despite your
Jaws.
efforts, my finely wrought dream approaches its fulfillment.
And I just wanted to add, by the way, the reason, because actually The Spy Who Loved Me came out in 1977, and it didn't, usually James Bond films were like the number one at the charts, and this one wasn't. So, and they saw that Star Wars was, so they decided to do, and actually this at that time was the most, it was, I think, the most expensive, and it was also the most profitable of the franchise at the time.
I did not know that.
I believe, I could be wrong on that. I believe that. And the next one is Star Trek. Do you remember seeing Star Trek, Joey?
It's just amazing that would have outperformed Goldenfinger or Octopussy, but
well, I think as far as profitability goes,
right. No, I got it.
Dr. No, the first one, because it only spent $1 million on that, and it blew up. It blew up, and they spent a little bit more with Russian Love. But I don't know, as far as profitability is concerned, which one made the most.
Let's check out our next one here. So we're going to go,
which is Star Trek. The Star Trek.
Which is Star Trek, 1979. I had only been. I wasn't really a Trekkie. I was pretty young still.
Yeah.
So.
And what they were going for with this film was more of a 2001. Have you seen the film? Because they were trying to go for a more of a 2001 Space Odyssey. It was boring and not exciting, but it ended up making a profit, but not as big of a profit as they thought. And I think they spent maybe $30 million on this picture at the time, maybe more.
Did you see it?
Oh yeah.
Who's the Trekkie at your house? Was your dad into it, or your brother?
My dad wasn't, but my brother and I were, and we didn't see it with my dad. Our dad didn't want to see it. So
let's check this one out.
Travel forward with us, 300 years into the future, to confront the greatest mystery ever to threaten mankind. We are aboard a huge starship called the Enterprise. This is the return of Captain Kirk.
An alien object of unbelievable destructive power is less than 3 days away from this planet.
Mr. Spock.
I offer my services as science officer.
Dr. McCoy. Scott. And joining them on their mission, Commander Will Decker and Navigator Ilea.
I'm sorry.
That you left Delta for? Or that you didn't even say goodbye?
Give us back an impulse power. Forward.
Wormhole distortion has overloaded the main power systems. The latest step. Laser over the corner. Fire! Torpedoes!
Then is the epic journey of the Starship Enterprise, traveling to the outer limits of time and space to challenge a vast, living machine destruction. The human adventure is just beginning. Star Trek, the motion picture.
Not bad. I did not see it in its first run. I saw it much later, probably on the On channel. I caught that one.
Yeah. Are you playing in slower motion, Joey? Because the film seemed to be a little bit choppy, but who knows if that's the way it goes. But I found the film to be boring at the time, but I've grown to appreciate it as I've gotten older. Because at that age, it was just I wanted more fast pace, and and my father had taken me to old films back in the day. So, and I kind of stuck with him because that's my dad. But I looked at old films and yeah. So let's play this a little bit quicker. This is Aliens. This film, actually, let me just set the thing. Ridley Scott actually turned down a film because he became inspired by Star Wars.
I did not know that.
And he went to direct this film due to his inspiration after seeing Star Wars. He was going to do a kind of romantic film. I forget the name of it, but it was before. It predated Romeo and Juliet. And he was getting ready to direct that, but he said no, he wanted to direct something in the sci-fi genre. And I also want to mention that there are people that don't consider, like the person who wrote Dune did not consider Star Wars to be sci-fi. He actually considered it to be, fantasy. He considered it more to be space fantasy than sci-fi. But this one, let's take a look at this. Do you remember when you first saw it? No, I don't think you saw this in the movie theater. Did you, Joey?
No. This was definitely an on-channel classic for me.
Yeah. This scared the hell out of me, both on the big screen and on television.
Those scenes going through the corridors of the ship, I do remember being so scared. It was such a edge of my seat experience watching Alien the first time.
In space, no one can hear you scream. And that basically, it was kind of like, almost it wasn't Star Wars. This was kind of like an it was like an Exorcist in space. I wanted to mention that The Exorcist 2 came out in 1977 as well. And it was considered terrible, but it's still actually even that film made a profit, believe it or not, because it was home to The Exorcist. But this film, I think they didn't try to copy anything, and I think they were smart enough to know, like, if we just do a knockoff.
I think they went to other genres, right? That's the monster itself comes from the G.G. Geiger comic book series, so they had other frames of reference they were taking from, but it wasn't other movies, which is great.
Yeah. And I believe they were going to, they had talked about doing Dune, but a lot of people believe that the film was unfilmable at the time, and a lot of things went back and forth on that.
Yeah.
And,
Alejandro Jodorowsky actually was originally signed up to do Dune, and they chopped him because he's alluded to this. He go off on these hallucinogenic trips with writers, and by the time he was done with the script, it turned out to be like 1,000 pages. It was crazy what they turned. So it was actually it was like very difficult. That was the barometer for getting Dune on screen. If they didn't think it was possible.
Yeah. But it's surprising sometimes what creative substances can do. I mean, a lot of guys before, people just wrote on cigarettes and alcohol, and then but they didn't come up with 1,000 pages. Maybe the hallucinogenics are better for writers, for creativity concerns. But it like I said, it really spawned. This was the first time that it spawned genres, and then by '83, after Return of the Jedi, people were sick. I mean, people started kind of getting sick of it, like in the '80s. I remember when 48 Hours came out. That's when the kind of spurned on the cop genre, and they kind of and then Sudden Impact, I believe in '83 came out, and they started making cop film. The cop film became popular again, and they were kind of like sick of the sci-fi genre. And but then in 1986, Aliens came out, and I actually like that film better than the original Alien, and it actually is an improvement. It's one of the rare times where the sequel is better than the original. I now think that that Empire Strikes Back is better than Star Wars. I didn't think that at the time. Now, when you saw Empire Strikes Back, because I was disappointed in the film when I saw it. I thought it had a cliffhanger ending I didn't like, and I thought it didn't have this the same kind of dog fights and stuff. I thought I was just going to see just another kind of Star Wars, and it put me into a different place that I really wasn't ready for, and I didn't appreciate it until I got a little bit older. What did you think when you first saw The Empire Strikes Back?
I remember being so mad at the ending with Han Solo, and at the same time, I felt like I was very relieved. I'm like, awesome, there's going to be another one. So I didn't really kind of understand how the trilogies were going to, like, I didn't know how it would work, but when I realized there would be a new one, and then it was just on to waiting to hear details about the next the Return of the Jedi.
And did you see them close to opening night, and are like and waiting a long line for that? Did you? Yeah.
I did, and it was great. And it's been my favorite of the series. Yeah, it was always my favorite of that series. So introduced a lot of cool characters and
just the experience, the Star Wars experience in the 70s and 80s for people of our age group. I mean, it was such like we were bated breath. This was our childhood, and came out when I was 7, and then at 13, and for you probably 11 or 12, it was probably like, this is like
The best.
This is like, oh yeah, you're like, all your friends couldn't wait till that film came out. Like you were talking, like, a year, like, oh, hey man, 1982, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi is coming out.
Oh, we were writing Star Wars on our shoes. We were like, it was just insane. Like,
how much Star Wars memorabilia did you clutter up with your house, dude? I mean, in your room.
I had a case of the original, figurines and a couple, maybe a Millennium Falcon or something, and I had the stuff. Yeah.
Did you have a Boba Fett?
I had a Boba Fett, or I can't remember for sure. I must have. I like that character a lot.
I remember I had a Boba Fett, and
oh yeah,
Chewie, a little Chewie. I had little stickers that we put on our my brother and I had bunk beds, and we had little Star Wars stickers that we had on our bunk bed. And
oh, nice. I also got the cards. I was one of. I would get the trading cards, and I would go.
Yeah, they used to have movie trading cards, bubble gum, and everything.
I don't know what it was about that damn imagery. It was 70s style. It was dark. It was grainy. But it was kind of gritty, but it was, it was very interesting to think of, other planets and shit. It was just, it just totally got into my head, my young mind.
From the beginning when you saw that spaceship, and then the end when he's all alone in that starfighter. And like, man, what's going to happen next? And then all of a sudden, dude, the Millennium Falcon comes in and saves the day. Come on, man! That was they blew up they blew it up. It was amazing, simply amazing. And Joey,
the Death Star got totaled.
The Death Star got totaled. You're late on your rent. Here we go. Anything else to add before we call this show a day, Joey?
No, that was a fun ride through some of the movies that we thought Hollywood reacted to Star Wars, and it set Hollywood off on a course, and this is a pretty nice, kind of a journey. There was a lot of other movies too, though, that were flying under that radar. Like I don't know what year Heavy Metal came out, but it was right around that time, right? 81.
I think it came out in 80. Yeah.
So maybe we should have shown that. That definitely gets mentioned, though.
Yeah. Well, that was some kind of fantasy. And then the one thing I remember, did you see Conan the Barbarian on the big screen?
No, not on the big screen. Not till years later.
Now, after that came out, a lot of sword and sorcery fantasy came out, and a lot of it was pieces of crap. But you know what? All of it a fun ride. So, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Anything else to add, Joey?
No. Come back, leave comments. We need some comments. Thanks for hanging out, Scott, and anyone else that came in. I know we got a few people dropping. So, all right.